The legends go that the SCA started as a party in Berkeley a long time ago. That means this party's been going for 53 years. And I think the engine that powers it, the thing that keeps people coming back, is something that people in society call the dream.
We refer to the SCA as the dream. What we're trying to do is this dream of gathering people of like mind and sharing the good things about the Middle Ages and just learning and spending time together.
To me, the dream is the moment at a society event when you're standing there on the Eric or walking up or at an archery field watching people shoot and practice, where you can blur the line a little bit. You can imagine yourself in that place, in that time. You can let yourself ignore maybe the little bit of artifact of today that's seeping in. Those things disappear, and you can really imagine yourself in that place and in that time from ages long past.
We really try to create a dream and try to keep with the best of ourselves and bring out the best of ourselves in each other as we try to recreate the best bits of the Middle Ages. It's awesome.
The Society for Creative Anachronism was founded here in the West Kingdom. We call it the Kingdom of the West. We are part of the Principality of the Mists, which is most of the Bay Area. The Shire of Clundara is the city and county of San Francisco. My name legally is Michael Joshua Roberts. My official style in the SCA would be Lord Michael O'Foley, Chancellor of the West Kingdom Brewers Guild. And Chancellor is the designation we give to the leader of our creative groups. And within our local group, I am the Arts and Sciences Minister. And the Arts and Sciences Minister is a person who brings the culture, the fun parts, the artistic parts, and the creative parts of history to our local group.
My name is Litz Plummer, and in the Society for Creative Anachronism, I go by the Baro Magda. I've been involved with the SCA for almost 30 years now.
My real name is Lucian Canton, which could probably be used in the SCA if I'd thought about it. In the SCA, I'm known as Rodrigo Bernardes, and I'm the Chatelain for the Shire of Clundara. The Chatelain is like our public relations person. Welcome newcomers, membership drives, that sort of thing.
I never stood a chance at not joining. As a child, I loved medieval stuff in all of its forms. I loved reading books, hearing stories, watching movies. My favorite book as a child was Le Morte d'Arthur, the King Arthur stories. And as a kid, I decided that it would be fun to recreate medieval weapons of war in my backyard. So I was building stuff that was pretty unsafe. I had bamboo spears I attached to my bicycle and would run up and down the street. We had a softball that I put nails through to try and recreate a Morning Star. It was a lot of fun, but it was pretty dangerous overall. So when I found out that there was a group of people who kind of knew what they were doing, it could help keep you alive while you were playing with this stuff. It was fantastic.
I think if you were to ask them, though, many people that I know say when they found the SCA, they felt like they were coming home. You know, like they were finally finding a place where they felt like they belonged. So I think that's the beauty of the SCA, is it can be whatever you want it to be.
One day, as a student at San Francisco State, my friends and I were wandering through Golden Gate Park, and I turned a corner, and all of a sudden there were people in armor fighting. And like in a dream, I started walking towards them, and it was captivating. It was wonderful. It was a fighter practice.
All through school, history class was, names and dates and battles and kings and queens and just dates after dates after dates after really cold facts, and history was just not my thing. It was boring and dry, and then I found some folks who were really interested in history and were really excited about it, and this fascinated me because I had no idea where they were coming from. And so I was invited to a couple of meetings when I was in college, and all of a sudden history started not seeming so scary. Here were people excited about how something happened as opposed to just, it happened, memorize this.
The society is divided into a series of kingdoms, and we've just added some, so I'm not sure the exact, something like 17, that make up what we call the known world. We're in the kingdom of the West, and unlike the other kingdoms who select their king twice a year, we have 3 different tournaments. And the winner of that tournament, whether it's male or female, becomes either the king or queen. And so the idea of the tournament is to select the next royal heirs.
We are going to March Crown. March Crown is held annually in March. It's one of 3 crown events held per year. When you approach the site, you see a whole bunch of beautiful tents and pavilions. You see people setting up bustling activity. Folks in what we call mundane clothes, or naked, some people like to call it, when you're just wearing your normal street clothes. And then you have folks who are dressed in comfortable period clothes, setting up, or their kind of formal fancy stuff.
The actual way the tournament runs is up to the monarchs. So the king and queen, depending on who's the lead, has the right to change how they do tournaments.
There are fighters who were, even though we're using basically padded sticks instead of live steel, we're trying to recreate the techniques and the styles and some of the technology as far as what could be accomplished.
The SCA is sort of a mix not only of history and chivalry and all, but it's a little bit of theater too. And a good king and queen will play the role, and we will act out we will show the respect to the crown because that's part of the game. We understand it's a game we're playing. And so I think that's very important, that the king and queen be role models and do the things that you would expect from a king and queen.
I will be there with the Brewers Guild Pavilion, so we set up our location and we have a sort of tasting where everyone from the guild brings something that they've created over the past 4 months to show off, to present to the rest of the group, and to get feedback from the rest of the group on how they've done for their creation. When you finally have that last little bit, when you've been working on something and letting it age for a beer, it could be a few months to 6 to 8 months. For a mead, it might be 2 or 3 years after you started it. But when you open it and you taste it, there's something profoundly satisfying and a real visceral connection to history, that you've made something that could maybe be interchangeable with something someone was drinking 1,500 years ago.
The special nights for me have always been Bardics, where I play guitar and I sing, and sitting around the campfire, entertaining friends, passing around a bottle, just having a good time, laughing and just singing, and we've seen the sun come up, and still doing it. So I think to me that was my favorite part, just spending those times with friends and sharing my skills with them and having them singing along. And yeah, so there are many things in the SCA that keep you coming back, but I think the friendships you form are certainly a big part of it.
So what have I gotten out of the SCA? I've gotten so much. I have gotten lifelong friends. I've gotten a way to express myself through arts and crafts. I've gotten to find people who are excited about so much stuff.
When I started out, like many people in high pressure professions, I had trouble relaxing. I felt like every time I said I should be doing something. And so it took an effort to sit down and you're sitting there drinking a beer with friends, and then you're like, what I should be doing? And then you suddenly realize, well, I am doing something. I'm spending time with my friends, and we're having a great conversation, and we're enjoying a beer, and we're having a good time. And learning to relax, to enjoy that, to not feel like I have to fill time was a big change for me as well.
I love the friendships that form, whether it's somebody who finds a cool thing that they're interested in, and then they find somebody else who's interested in the same thing, and they teach each other stuff. I've done that with needlework with a friend of mine, and we have carried that friendship completely outside of the SCA. I am now her music teacher, and we're some of the best of friends.
For some, it's the community that we've formed. For some, it's the the opportunities to do things that they wouldn't have done otherwise. For some, it may be just the ability to learn so many different skills that are out there. And one of the things about the SCA is it's just an amazing collection of artisans. The things that people create, the things that they do, it's just amazing. You wouldn't find that anywhere else.
We've just become an extended family. And without the SCA, maybe I would have met them, maybe I wouldn't have. Probably wouldn't have. I've gained so many lifelong friends and extended family because of the SCA. And in point of fact, that's actually how I met my wife. So, yeah.
They say those who fail to study history are doomed to repeat it. So we're doing our best to study history, take what we can that's positive and applicable, and learn the stuff that we should not be repeating.
And how do you change it to respond to what's going on in the real world, but at the same time not change who we are, the essence of who we are. And so over the years, we've had to wrestle with things like, same sex. Are you going to have two kings or two queens? And the answer here in the West is, of course, but in other parts of the country, maybe not so much. So the Me Too movement is changing some of the ways we do things. Things that were accepted years ago now aren't so accepted anymore. And so we have to, how do we adjust to that? Because these are real issues. These are real world issues that come into the society.
One of the things I'm proud of the SCA in the past few years for doing is opening up that view of history so it's not just Eurocentric, that there's a lot of other people moving in, sharing ideas from across cultures, across time. We're supposed to start 600 to 1600, but everyone I've talked to says the earlier margins getting fuzzier and fuzzier. We've seen a couple Macedonians showing up at different events. And it is interesting to see people plumbing broader cultures, Imperial Chinese, Mesoamerican, North African, and bringing those same ideas and the same kind of cultural depths to the society as a whole. It's a group of people that really aspire to something, and they're driving themselves to try and make something bigger and better than themselves, and that means a lot. The society to me is the aspirations of a large group of people who have felt that maybe the world we're in right now is missing some important stuff and are reaching out to each other and to the past to try and fill in some of the holes we think we see.
Living history makes so much more sense than textbook history. And sure, we still pay attention to the dates and whatnot, but what fascinates a lot of folk in the SCA is how. How did this come to happen?
The society is a great place for people, kindred spirits, to come and play together and to indulge in what some would call a shared delusion, but we would call sort of that dream, the moment where we really connect to each other, our passion, and a joyful thing in day-to-day life.